There are definitely worldview-changing assertions coming out of the UAP disclosures, but are those assertions true? Before we get to one of the most dramatic of these assertions, before we get to that, let's make one thing clear. The UAP disclosures coming from the government are not proof that UAPs are real. I don't know about you, but I don't let the government tell me what's real. I don't let the government tell me what's good, what's moral, what's right, what's beautiful. The government may be able to enforce what's legal, but what's legal does not equal real or moral or good or beautiful. Every experiencer, and by experiencer I mean those who've had this kind of encounter, and I mentioned in my introductory video that I am both a skeptic and an experiencer. If you want to hear more about that, just let me know in the comments. But every experiencer and a lot of other people have already decided that UAPs are real, UFOs are real. We weren't waiting for the government to tell us that. So what's actually happening? Why all the excitement? Well, the excitement is because a lot of people suspect that the government knows more than it's been pretending to know. That pretense can no longer be sustained, and so now these things are coming from the margins into the mainstream, and there are hearings in Congress and it's all over the media. After all, the government has been investigating reports of unidentified aerial phenomenon for at least 75 years, and it's been collecting data all along. In just a moment, I want to show you a timeline to kind of put this whole thing in context. But before we get there, let's start at the beginning. The summer of 1947 is when it all begins. And when I say it all begins, I don't mean the human experience with unidentified flying objects, with unidentified aerial phenomenon. I mean the modern UFO era. And this era does not begin where you think it does, Roswell. It actually begins on the southwest slope of Mount Rainier in the state of Washington, when on June 24th, 1947, a private pilot named Kenneth Arnold is searching for the remains of a downed Marine Corps transport plane and reports having seen 9 objects, flying at incredibly fast speeds. In subsequent interviews, Kenneth Arnold told reporters that these flying objects appeared like saucers skipping on water. And that's where the popular term flying saucers became a common way of speaking of unidentified flying objects, UFOs. 14 days later, Roswell happens. Let's look at a timeline to help us kind of put into context government exploration and evaluation of the UFO, now known as a UAP phenomenon. Between 1947 and 1949, the Air Force initiates a project designed to evaluate and collect data on these unidentified flying objects. That project was codenamed Project Sign. It's the middle of the Cold War, and tensions are high between the United States and the then Soviet Union. And Project Sign pretty much leans towards the explanation that these UFOs might be advanced Soviet technology. And there's also a hat tip to technologies of unknown or maybe unearthly origins, but not much. Project Sign evolves into Project Grudge. Project Grudge is a little bit more skeptical. It basically comes to the conclusion that these unidentified flying objects are pretty much natural phenomenon or advanced human technology or even hoaxes. It takes a very skeptical view. And Project Sign and Project Grudge pretty much closed down in 1949. In 1952, Project Blue Book happens. With this context, let's just reiterate what we know. First, we know that the UAP disclosures given to us by the government are not proof that UAPs are real. Many of us already suspected that the government confirming it isn't really what we're after. What many suspect is that the government may know things the public doesn't, and that's what we're after. So the first thing is that the government disclosure that the UAP phenomenon is real is not proof. It's just confirmation of what many of us already knew. It's not proof that they're real. Neither is it proof that they are extraterrestrial. That's a whole different thing. We can confirm and agree that the UAP phenomenon is real. In other words, there are things flying around that we can't explain. We don't know what they are. That does not prove that they're extraterrestrial. And then David Grush happened. Before we move on to David Grush and his explosive testimony, his assertions, we should probably catch ourselves up just a little bit to the state of the art in terms of UAP detection. In the early days, it was testimony. People were talking, sharing about what they saw, what they experienced, but basically you either had to believe them or disbelieve them, and a lot of it came down to credibility. Then it went on to photos, some photos and video, and then our technology ramped up, especially as we started seeing the military detections on their radar. In 2004, the USS Nimitz strike group was performing training exercises off the coast of San Diego. Part of that group, the USS Princeton, detected on its radar an object 80,000 feet in the air, which is basically space, and it dropped down in seconds to 20,000 feet. So the USS Nimitz strike group scrambled 3 FA-18 Super Hornets, and David Fravor, Alex Dietrich, and Chad Underwood piloted those 3 fighter jets. All of them got a visual on the object, and Chad Underwood actually caught it on his forward-facing camera off of his F-18 Super Hornet. And that's the video that's become, one of the videos that's become so popular, so famous. The technology from testimony to photo to video to now radar detection to being caught by video on fighter jets to the credible testimony of Navy pilots. And so basically the evidence has been ramping up in terms of its credibility. That was in 2004. That story did not become publicly available until the New York Times broke that story in 2017, 13 years later. So in the meantime though, different whistleblowers emerged onto the scene. One of those whistleblowers is David Grush.
Do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years. I know the exact locations.
A whistleblower who formerly worked on the Defense Department's UAP task force, David Grush, claims he was denied access to information on a government UFO crash retrieval program, something the Pentagon disputes.
Biologics came with some of these recoveries.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to.
The reason David Grush matters at this point is because we've been talking about how government disclosure of the UAP phenomenon does not prove anything other than the government confirming that which most of us have already known. The second thing is that the UAP disclosure on the part of the government does not prove that those UAPs, the UFOs, are extraterrestrial. It only confirms that there are things flying around and we don't know what they are. Now, this whistleblower testimony by David Grush brings a new piece onto the table because he asserts that in his research he has uncovered that the government has sequestered not only extraterrestrial craft, but biologics, that is, extraterrestrial creatures. So here's the point, really, of this entire video. When you hear that kind of testimony, what you hear depends on what you bring to it. For example, a person who believes that the universe is so vast and there are so many galaxies and so many stars and so many planets, Earth-like planets with water, that surely there's got to be extraterrestrial life. And now you hear David Grush and his testimony that there are extraterrestrial biologics and craft that are being studied and reverse engineered by the government. And their immediate reaction oftentimes is going to be, I knew it, I knew it. The government has known this and it's been hiding this, and it's now coming to the point where it's going to have to share with the rest of us what it already knows about these extraterrestrial craft and extraterrestrial beings. That's person one. Person two is the person who's very suspicious of the government. They are aware of the fact that the government has conducted historically PSYOPs, psychological operations designed to fool the American public. And this is not unique to America or to the United States of America. I'm sure that every government has at some point or another sought to mislead its population. Here's a short list of some of the ways that the United States government has sought to mislead people. Now that person, when he hears David Grush give testimony, they put it all together. A former intelligence agent. What has he been trained to do? He's been trained to mislead, to conceal, to keep secrets. And now he is definitely a part of another PSYOP, another attempt to mislead the American people, to mislead the world. After all, he says he's a whistleblower. And yet when he's questioned in Congress, he says, oh yeah, those are not things that I can talk about publicly. Maybe we can enter a SCIF, which is a highly secure space in which top secret items can be discussed. Yeah, but you're a whistleblower. That's what whistleblowers do. They discuss secret things and make them known so that action can be taken. And so person two says, this is just another PSYOP. Okay, so what do we walk away with? Let's call it the David Grush test. Number one, examine your priors. What beliefs do you bring into a situation that inform or shape the way you hear, weigh, evaluate evidence? Number two, watch for confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is real. You will tend to hear and see evidence that confirms what you already believe. Number three, separate evidence from interpretation. It's one thing to say, I've seen an unidentified flying object. It's another thing to say, therefore, extraterrestrial intelligences are visiting our planet. One is an observation, it's empirical, you've seen it, you've used your senses. The other one is an interpretation from what you've seen, and it is shaped by things that you already believe. Fourth, credentials are not proof. Just because the US government says something is true, real, good, beautiful, true, doesn't mean that that is in fact the case. They might be able to tell us that which is legal, but legal does not equal moral, good, right, real, true. They're quite different things. Just because you have an intelligence officer whistleblowing, that doesn't mean that what he's asserting is true, real, good, beautiful, moral, true. It could be that he is in fact whistleblowing and bringing to our attention something that we must know, something he feels we must know. Or it could be that he's acting as an intelligence officer and carrying on his assignment of creating a narrative that the government wants America and the world to believe. Authority, a place of authority, does not equal giving or offering the truth. And last, be comfortable saying, I don't know. I don't know. Now, I'm going to continue this UAP series. I'm going to talk about the spiritual dimensions. Are there spiritual dimensions? And then I'm going to offer some scenarios about what I think might actually be going on. It will involve some empirical observations. It will involve some feelings around those observations. It'll involve another layer of interpretation around those observations. So it should be fun. If you're here at this point in the video, you've watched the whole thing. Please subscribe. You might as well. And hit notifications so that you can be notified when I drop the next video. Thank you for watching the whole video and for subscribing, because those two things apparently really help the algorithm. This is a new YouTube channel. It's not dedicated to unidentified anomalous phenomenon. It's identified to the structures of meaning, the edges of reality. So welcome aboard, and see you next time.